The final stretch of the Continental Divide Trail CDT merging with the Great Divide Trail GDT from East Glacier to Waterton Lakes in Canada isn't just an ending. It marks a profound new beginning. But here's where it gets complicated. Navigating permits and timing this segment before snow hits really puts endurance and patience to the test. Authors note, due to necessary permit prioritization and the looming threat of early snowfall, there will be delays in following publications. I appreciate your understanding as I focus on leaving Canada safely and on time. Day 111, 10.5 miles. Today was, without doubt, the most stressful day I've faced along this journey. I reached East Glacier just in time to cross into Canada and begin my Great Divide Trail permits, which required me to cover roughly 33 miles per day for 3 consecutive days to stay on schedule. Timing the entirety of the CDT to arrive exactly when I needed here was already a massive challenge. I honestly felt trapped by the rigid timeline. If I didn't arrive at the right moment, linking the CDT and the GDT seemed nearly impossible before the snow started to fall. The permit process for Glacier National Park added a complicated layer. Ideally, I would have secured these permits back in May, when reservations first opened. Coincidentally, my very first day in Colorado. But the online system only booked in 16-mile increments, which meant arriving at campsites by mid-afternoon and essentially wasting the day waiting around. I heard from other hikers that people often show up hours early at the ranger station to snag permits, but from East Glacier, that meant an 11-mile walk starting at 4:30 a.m. or earlier just to get there by the 7:30 a.m. opening. Adding to the pressure, my friend Jenna, who helps with resupplies and owns the Wabaland Bakery, warned me that shipping boxes from Vermont directly to Canada could cost me $60 each. I considered spending a day in my first Canadian town to repackage and send supplies from within the country, but that would conflict with tight permit deadlines. So I had to rethink my entire resupply plan, scrambling to find locals who could help me purchase and transport food and supplies along the trail. Trying to communicate these complex, last-minute logistics to Jenna resulted in so many cryptic texts that I half expected her to give up. Thankfully, her startup experience has trained her to decode chaos, so she stuck with me. It was relentless, a huge headache. I wish I had planned more buffer time for such challenges. January, my permit coordinator, tried to keep the August schedule tight, worried about risking snowfall by late October. But August isn't just fierce. It's exhausted and could have definitely used a day to breathe and manage logistics calmly. After spending the day wrestling with these planning puzzles while I still had cell service, I trudged the 11 miles to the ranger station to get a better chance at securing permits first thing tomorrow. All the tension faded once I woke up to breathtaking views. At worst, I had hopes of using low-mileage permits that a fellow CDT hiker from New Mexico had reserved for me. But navigating Canada's segment required some improvised mileage calculations on the fly. On the bright side, I started my morning with blueberry pancakes made by Chill, a remarkable baker I somehow bumped into 4 times along this trail despite their Colorado base. Life's little surprises keep things sweet. The key takeaway? Roll with whatever comes your way. Day 112, 35.7 miles. Permit wrangling yesterday was just the prelude. Most campsites were already booked, and understandably, many campers disliked sharing their spots. This left me with limited options, and although the ranger worked tirelessly to craft a somewhat reasonable itinerary, it remained quite inflexible, meaning I'd likely face some night hikes. The permit system exists primarily to protect Glacier National Park's fragile ecosystem amid over 3 million annual visitors. Rangers juggle the delicate task of preserving land, protecting wildlife, and keeping hikers safe. Looking back, I should have asked a trusted friend to secure multiple itinerary options back in May, even if that meant booking ghost permits to bypass mileage restrictions, canceling those I didn't use later. Stretching my timeline to cross the park would have given me room to maneuver. The system is clearly designed for typical park visitors, not for thru hikers like myself attempting lengthy continuous crossings. I plan to write a more detailed analysis on this topic after completing my journey. As I hiked, I delightfully consumed piles of wild shrubs, especially those delightfully untamable huckleberries. It continues to amaze me how these berries refuse domestication, yet grow so abundantly for anyone willing to forage. At day's end, I was reunited with a familiar officer and his kids, Yankee Doodle and Pantry. I'd first met them in New Mexico, then again in Colorado on days 53 and 54, a comforting link to the past along an otherwise solitary route that once bore me alone through snow. Feeding teenagers on trail? I'm still puzzled how he manages. We parted with acknowledgments of the route's brutality. Those passes are quite easy, he joked. I chuckled. Easy compared to the brutal stretch toward Leador. My calves ached just thinking about it. It's reassuring to see familiar faces again near the end, even though everyone's trail choices and shortcuts differ widely. Tomorrow marks the start of my final 50 miles into Canada. Day 113, 36.5 miles. I feel incredibly blessed to spend the last day of my 20s in Glacier National Park, the Blackfeet territory. Truly a place like a storybook. There's something sacred about these jagged walls, as if each mountain watches over us like a protective guardian. The term mountain face isn't just geography, it's spiritual. If I were to create a place of worship, it would be here, the Temple of the Mountains. Call it God, nature, Allah, Dhamma, whatever fills your soul, it lives here. When clouds descend over those spires, my breath catches in awe. Reading other hikers' forum comments on Far Out, opinions vary wildly about the best part of the park. Some claim a secondary trail is superior. Others tout specific permits as essential. Maybe, just maybe, every corner of this park holds unique magic. I also enjoyed some humorous exchanges between northbound thru hikers, Sobos, lamenting overgrown trails, and veterans responding, "Be grateful we even have a path. It only gets tougher from here." Today's beauty distracted me so much I stumbled more than once, my eyes fixed on the soaring scenery. Reflecting on how I've spent my 20s, I feel proud of every choice made. If tomorrow were my last day, I'd happily look back on these decades. Tears flowed freely all day, but I held composure around day hikers on the trail.